Esther's Reboot Challenge, Day 33, page 148. Identify skills that need to be updated for the future. To be a competent person in a changing world, you have to update and improve on some of your skills. Knowing what core competencies you already have is important, but knowing what you need to update and work on to become more competent is just as important. Supposing the core competencies you have now are constants, the final answers about your perfect future scenario can come out completely differently depending on who works on what and how fast and properly. When I asked Jiyun to write down what she needed to improve, she quickly wrote down what she needed to work on to develop her skills. These days, it's important to promote business on social media. So I think I should study platform marketing. I also need to quickly grab the latest trends of the publishing industry because the publishing market will go through a significant change in post-coronavirus. I should have a good understanding of publishing trends overseas because I should proactively export books to overseas markets beyond the limited market for Korean-speaking readers. That means I need to study English, and I should also learn bookkeeping because I need to become capable of managing the finances if I'm going independent. There's nothing difficult about it. You just need to write down the things that you are not good at or the things that you always thought you should learn about. There are no wrong answers, and nobody is there to grade you. And because you wrote them down doesn't mean you must follow through on them. Just write down what comes to your mind and remember, the more, the better. Decide what will change and what will remain in your industry. When you have finished analyzing yourself, it is time to analyze the world in which you live. Admittedly, this is the hard part. When it comes to analyzing yourself, the answers come easily because you know what and who you are. But when it comes to the world, there are no things you don't know about than you know. I reached out and asked Choi Yun-shik, director of the Institute for Human Resources in Asia and the author of numerous books on predictions for the future, such as 5 years from now, a US-China war scenario, and 5 years from now, the future of Korea scenario, wondering how the futurist author was analyzing the world. I asked him for a meeting with high expectations. However, his answer to my question was rather simple. He said, just because I am a futurist doesn't mean I can write with extraordinary skill. At first, I roughly write down what I think would change and what I think would remain the same. I just write down whatever comes to mind, and that's how I begin my prediction of the future. Then I add findings from my studies and research before I have a report on predicting the future as we know it. Listening to him, I thought that this was something that I could absolutely do myself. I thought I should write down what I thought would change in the world and what would remain the same, all from my own perspective. In my case, people's desire to listen to motivational speeches will remain the same, but their access to those speeches will be completely different. What about Jiyun's publishing industry? I think that the desire for paperwork books and other written materials will remain the same in the future. Of course, there is a growing demand for videos, but they won't completely replace hard copy texts. Instead, people will use hard copy materials in many ways. Have you ever heard of a chatbook? The genre is becoming popular these days, and it refers to an ebook that's written in dialogue as if characters are chatting. I think that many diverse forms of books will be introduced in the future. It is difficult to identify the things that will remain the same in the future. The only thing that we can be sure of is that no matter how much the world changes, where-made products will always sell. The only thing that I or anyone else will be able to control is how well we do the thing we're best at. So I decided to accept the fact that everything was going to change except my own core competencies. I felt so much lighter and more focused the moment that I accepted that reality. In order to craft an actionable reboot scenario, we still have to identify what will change. Ask yourself, what are the things that are obviously changing right now? You won't find the answer just by completion. You must search for it, actively seek new information and identify trends. In my search, I learned that there was no better resource than the latest news reports. First, I opened the internet search engines, entered my job, and read articles that I got as such results. I also entered queries as simple as the things that coronavirus is changing, and I read news articles that I got as such results. That might not sound very impressive, but nothing was more helpful than news reports for finding out what was changing in my industry. Jiun told me. My company's PR team compiles articles about the publishing industry and sends them to me. So I thought that I was well informed about the latest trends in the publishing industry. After hearing what you said, I searched for articles and found a lot of new information that I hadn't known. I guess that I should look up news articles more frequently. You are the only person who can identify the changes taking place in your industry that are relevant to you. Even looking at the same piece of information, some people might find it just a random story about what's going on in the world. Thank you.